Have you ever noticed something strange? You hear an English sentence. You know every single word. But somehow your brain freezes. Not because you don't understand English, because something else is happening first. A tiny, invisible habit is stealing your fluency. A habit so common that millions of English learners do it every day without realizing it. And the worst part, the harder you try to speak, the stronger this habit becomes. Today, you're going to discover what it is. And once you see it, you may never learn English the same way again. Imagine you're standing in a coffee shop. The person behind the counter smiles and asks, "What can I get for you today?" Simple question. You know the words. You've studied English for years. But suddenly, your brain starts running a secret process. What can I get for you today? First, you translate it into your language. Then you think about your answer in your language. Then you translate your answer back into English. Only then do you speak. I would like coffee. By the time the words come out, the moment is already gone. The conversation has moved forward, and you feel slow, not because your English is bad, because you're carrying an extra step that native speakers never use. Think about it. When you hear your own language, do you translate it? Of course not. If someone says your name, you don't mentally convert it into another language first. You simply understand. Instantly, directly, effortlessly. That's how real fluency works. Not English to your language. Not your language to English. Just meaning. Directly. But here's the surprising part. Most learners spend years trying to improve their English, while secretly practicing translation every single day. It's like trying to learn how to swim while refusing to let go of the edge of the pool. You feel safe, but you're never really swimming. And that's exactly what happened to Daniel. Daniel had studied English for almost 8 years. Grammar books, vocabulary lists, language apps, online courses. He knew thousands of words. His test scores were excellent, but whenever someone spoke to him in real life, something embarrassing happened. He would pause. Every single sentence. His friends thought he was shy, but the truth was different. Inside his head, an entire translation department was working overtime. Every conversation felt like solving a math problem. Slow, exhausting, stressful. Then one day, something unexpected happened. He traveled abroad. For the first few days, he struggled, really struggled. The people around him spoke too fast. He couldn't keep up. Translation wasn't helping anymore. In fact, translation was becoming the problem. His brain couldn't process everything quickly enough. And then, after a week, something changed. Not because he learned more grammar, not because he memorized more vocabulary, because he became too tired to translate. His brain simply gave up. And that's when the magic happened. For the first time, he started connecting English words directly to ideas. not translations, ideas. When someone said hungry, he didn't think of the equivalent word in his language. He felt hunger. When someone said beautiful, he pictured beauty. When someone said run, he imagined movement, direct connection, word to meaning, meaning to understanding, no middleman. And suddenly conversations felt different, not perfect, but alive, much faster, much more natural, because real fluency begins when translation ends. Now, here's something most people never talk about. Translation feels productive. It feels like learning. Your brain says, look, I understood that sentence, but understanding through translation is different from understanding directly. Imagine you want to watch a movie. You invite a friend. Your friend watches every scene and then explains it to you. Technically, you understand the movie, but you're always one step behind. You're never experiencing it directly. That's exactly what translation does. It places a translator between you and English, and every translator causes delay, even if that delay is only 1 second. 1 second becomes 2, 2 becomes 5, and suddenly speaking feels impossible. Here's a quick experiment. Don't answer out loud. Just listen. Apple, what happened? Did you translate it? Or did you instantly picture an apple? Most likely, you saw the image. Now listen again. Ocean, mountain, dog, rained. Interesting, right? You probably didn't translate those words. You simply understood them because your brain can already create direct connections. The challenge is learning to do this with more words, more phrases, more situations. And that's where most learners accidentally go in the wrong direction. When they find a new word, they immediately search for the translation. Their brain learns English word equals native language word. But imagine learning English word equals image. English word equals feeling. English word equals experience. That's a completely different pathway, and it's much closer to how children learn language. Think about a child learning the word cat. Nobody hands them a dictionary. Nobody explains translations. They see a cat, hear the word, see the cat again, hear the word again. Eventually, the connection becomes automatic, direct, natural, permanent, and before you think, that's fine for children, but I'm an adult. Actually, adults can do this too, sometimes even faster, because adults already have thousands of experiences stored in their minds. The secret isn't becoming a child. The secret is learning like one. Let me show you something fascinating. Imagine you're watching your favorite TV show. A character walks into a room and says, I'm exhausted. You see their face, their body language, their emotion. Without translation, your brain begins connecting the word exhausted to the feeling. Now imagine seeing that word 20 times, 30 times, 50 times. Soon the meaning becomes automatic. No translation required. That's why some people improve rapidly through stories, movies, and conversations. They're training direct understanding, not translation. But there's another hidden problem, and this one surprises almost everyone. Translation doesn't only slow listening, it slows speaking too. In fact, speaking is where the damage becomes most obvious. Imagine you're driving. Every time you reach an intersection, you stop the car, call someone, ask which direction to go, wait for the answer, then continue. Could you reach your destination? Sure. Would it be painfully slow? Absolutely. That's what translation does during conversation. Every sentence becomes a stop sign. Every idea needs permission before moving forward. No wonder speaking feels exhausting. Your brain is doing double work. English comes in. Translate. Thought appears. Translate again. Then speak. No athlete could perform while carrying that much extra weight, and no language learner can become fluent while carrying that much mental traffic. The good news: you don't need to eliminate translation overnight. Nobody does. Even advanced learners occasionally translate. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is reducing dependency. Little by little, day by day, conversation by conversation, because something incredible happens when you stop chasing perfect translations. You start noticing meaning instead. And meaning is where fluency lives. The next time someone says, "How's your day going?" don't build the answer in your language first. Try something different. Notice the feeling. Notice the idea. Then let simple English come out. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's shorter. But it's real. And real communication always beats perfect translation. Because people aren't listening for flawless grammar. They're listening for connection. And connection happens much faster than translation. There's one more thing you need to know, and this might be the most important part of all. Many learners believe they're not fluent because they don't know enough vocabulary. But often the real problem isn't vocabulary, it's access. They know the words. The words are already in their brain. They're just trapped behind a translation wall. And once that wall starts disappearing, something remarkable begins to happen. Words that once felt hidden suddenly appear. Sentences arrive faster. Responses feel lighter. And conversations become less about survival and more about enjoyment. You stop chasing every single word. You start understanding entire ideas. And that's a huge shift, because real conversations aren't built from individual words. They're built from meaning. Think about the last conversation you had in your native language. Can you remember every word that was spoken? Probably not, but you remember the meaning, the emotion, the message. That's how your brain naturally processes language. Meaning first, words second. Yet many English learners accidentally reverse the process. They focus so hard on every word that they lose the meaning of the whole sentence. It's like standing 1 inch away from a giant painting. You see every brush stroke, but you can't see the picture. The strange thing is that fluency often appears when people stop trying to control every detail. Not because details don't matter, because communication happens at a bigger level. Imagine someone says, "I was supposed to leave early, but then everything went wrong." Maybe you don't know every single word. Maybe one or two are unfamiliar, but your brain can still understand the situation. Someone had a plan. Something happened. Now they're frustrated. That's communication. And that's exactly how fluent listeners operate. They don't panic over every unknown word. They collect clues. They follow meaning. They trust context. Meanwhile, translators get stuck. One unknown word appears. Everything stops. The brain sounds an alarm. What does that word mean? Conversation continues. Meaning moves forward. But the translator is still parked on that single word. And eventually, they miss the entire message. If this has ever happened to you, you're not alone. In fact, almost every learner experiences it. The difference is what happens next. Some people continue translating forever. Others slowly train a new habit. Instead of asking, "What is the translation?" they begin asking, "What does this mean here?" That tiny change transforms everything. Because language isn't math. One word doesn't always equal one word. Take the word run. A person can run. A machine can run. A business can run. Time can run out. Water can run down a wall. The same word creates different meanings. So chasing perfect translations often creates confusion instead of clarity. Meaning is flexible. Translation is rigid. And fluency lives in flexibility. Now let's talk about something almost nobody expects. The moment you stop translating, your English may actually feel worse for a while. Yes, worse, and that's completely normal. Imagine you've ridden a bicycle with training wheels for years. One day you remove them. At first you wobble. You feel less stable, less confident. Maybe you even fall. Does that mean the training wheels were better? No, it means you're finally learning balance. The same thing happens with English. When you stop relying on translation, there can be moments of uncertainty. Your brain feels exposed. You can't hide behind your native language anymore. You have to trust understanding directly. That feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is often a sign that real learning is happening, because growth rarely feels comfortable in the beginning. Think about the first time you learned to drive, or swim, or ride a bike. Everything felt awkward, slow, unnatural. Then one day it didn't. Language works the same way. At first, direct understanding feels strange. Later, translation feels strange. And that's a beautiful moment. One day, you'll hear an English sentence and suddenly realize something surprising. You didn't translate it. You just understood it. The sentence entered your ears and became meaning instantly. No effort, no process, no delay, just understanding. When that happens for the first time, it feels almost magical. But it isn't magic. It's training. Thousands of small moments creating a new pathway inside your brain. And those pathways grow stronger every time you use them. Here's an example. Imagine someone asks, "What are you looking forward to this weekend?" A translating brain might begin a long internal journey. Convert question, build answer, translate answer, check grammar, check vocabulary. Speak. A fluent brain does something different. It feels excitement, thinks about Saturday, imagines plans, then expresses those ideas. The direction is completely different. Meaning first, language second. Notice how much lighter that feels. Because fluency isn't fast English. Fluency is direct English. Many people think fluent speakers speak quickly because they know more words. Sometimes that's true, but often they speak quickly because they're not translating. The extra step has disappeared, and when the extra step disappears, speed appears naturally. Not forced, not practiced, natural. This is why some learners seem to improve suddenly. From the outside, it looks like an overnight breakthrough, but what you're actually seeing is a hidden shift. They stopped treating English like a puzzle and started treating it like communication. That's when everything accelerates. Now imagine your brain as a forest. Every time you translate, you walk down the same path. English, translation, meaning. English, translation, meaning. After years of repetition, that path becomes easy to follow. Automatic, comfortable, but there's another path available. English, meaning, directly. At first, it's overgrown, difficult to walk through, but every time you use it, the path becomes clearer, wider, stronger. Eventually, it becomes the easiest route. And then something amazing happens. Your brain chooses it automatically. That's when fluency starts feeling effortless. Not because English became easier, because your pathway became stronger. And here's the part that should encourage you. You don't need to wait until you're advanced. You can start building this pathway today with simple words, simple sentences, simple conversations. In fact, the simpler the better, because direct understanding grows best when the brain isn't overloaded. If you're watching videos in English, don't translate every sentence. Focus on the scene, the emotion, the context. If you're reading, don't stop every 10 seconds for a dictionary. Try understanding the message first. If you're listening to podcasts, don't chase every word. Follow the story. Follow the meaning. Trust your brain more than you currently do, because your brain is smarter than you think. It was designed for language. long before textbooks existed, long before grammar rules were written. Humans learned language through meaning, and your brain still knows how to do that. Sometimes it simply needs permission. Permission to stop translating. Permission to stop being perfect. Permission to understand first and analyze later. And that's where so many learners finally experience freedom. Not because their English suddenly becomes perfect, because they stop demanding perfection from every sentence. They stop interrupting communication. They stop fighting every conversation. Instead, they start flowing with the language, and flow changes everything. Imagine standing beside a river. If you try to control every drop of water, you'll fail. But if you move with the current, the journey becomes easier. English is similar. The more you force every word through translation, the heavier it becomes. The more you connect directly with meaning, the more naturally it moves. That's why some of the most fluent speakers you've ever met still make mistakes. Their secret isn't perfection. Their secret is flow. They stay connected to meaning, and meaning keeps the conversation alive. So the next time you catch yourself translating, don't criticize yourself. Don't get frustrated. Simply notice it. Awareness is the first step. Then gently ask yourself, can I understand this directly? Sometimes the answer will be yes. Sometimes it won't. That's okay. Every attempt strengthens the new pathway. Every moment of direct understanding trains your brain. Every conversation becomes practice. And eventually, something wonderful happens. The voice in your head becomes quieter. The translator starts taking longer breaks. The pauses become shorter. The confidence becomes stronger. And one day, you'll be speaking English when a surprising thought appears. Or maybe no thought appears at all. Because you're no longer translating. You're simply communicating the way language was always meant to be used. And when that day comes, you'll realize something important. Fluency was never hiding in another grammar book. It wasn't waiting inside a vocabulary list. It wasn't locked behind some secret technique. It was waiting on the other side of translation. The moment you stopped converting English and started experiencing it directly, naturally, one meaning at a time.